The following program is furnished by K1 International, LLC, and is responsible for its content. Now, from the fifth floor Cumulus Studios in downtown Dallas, it's time for Inside Real Estate. Here's your host, Michael Kruizinga.
Good morning, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. How we doing out there? Welcome to your Sunday. Welcome to September 11th, 15th anniversary of what happened in New York City. And so hope everybody's thinking about that, taking a few minutes to think about that today. And just remember the fallen. And also, football's coming back. Started up on Thursday. Today's the first Sunday, so we're all looking forward to that. We got a lot to get to. We're going to talk about some headlines, and then we're going to get into some home improvement talk with Kevin Hamus of Ideal Floors. Then, of course, we're going to do some mortgage talk and real estate talk with Terri Wagner, who's back live in studio with us. And then we've got Richard Tonica. We're going to do some insurance talk with him later in the show as well. So stay tuned for all of that. Website's InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. Connect with our Pinterest page where all the stories that we talk about are on there. And then, of course, we got the Twitter, Facebook, all that jazz. So we got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with sports, and I'm sure everybody is well fatigued on the Kaepernick stuff for sure, but let's just finish off a little bit of that, and then we'll move on to some other things. I was looking at a lot of things this week, and just everybody's got a lot to say. The person I thought that had the most to say, or was going to have the most to say, actually really had the least. I thought Jim Rome was actually going to have a lot to say about this, and I love listening to his show. That he's got the Jungle, and of course he's got the Showtime special. But he was actually just very straight down the middle. He kind of divided it like everybody did, I think, into two sides of what Kaepernick was trying to do, what he was trying to say, and then how he did it during the game with the flag and the national anthem, and kind of separating those two, which I'm completely fine with, and really that's, I think, what everybody did is separating those two things out. The issue that everybody's having is don't disrespect the flag and don't disrespect the national anthem. But as things have kind of progressed from there, the Broncos player who did it as well, he lost one of his sponsors. The Air Academy Federal Credit Union dropped Brandon Marshall, and CEO said, Glenn Strobe, said in a statement that he released this past week, appreciate his right of expression, but his actions are not a representation of our organization and our membership. So, it's going to hit some of these players in the pocketbook, if they're going to disrespect the flag and disrespect the national anthem. How many of us have been at a ball game where the national anthem comes on and, we're talking or chatting and we fail to get up right away and somebody behind us yells at us, stand up, or we fail to take off our cap, us guys, wearing a hat at the ballpark and somebody says, hey, take off your hat because you forgot, and you're like, oh man, you take off your hat real quick and, you're kind of ashamed a little bit that you forgot about it, we think about these things, but these players, it's a privilege to play as an athlete at any level. We were taught that as a young kid. It's a privilege to be an athlete at any level, much less at the high level of the NFL. And so to disrespect yourself, your team, the flag, and the nation, it doesn't sit well with anybody, and that's why everybody's talking about it. It's funny, one of the NASCAR drivers was asked about this, Austin Dillon, and of course he says, you're just not going to see that in NASCAR, which we wouldn't expect anyway because it's a very patriotic crowd. But he's like, we have people literally getting on us if we don't have our hand over our heart during national anthem. So they can't even get away with, not getting, flack about not having their hand over their heart. And, sometimes, at an event, I'll stand with my hands behind my back and not necessarily with my hand over my heart. So, they're like, yeah, that's never going to fly in NASCAR. But he said there's a Navy SEAL that often sends him messages saying how much, they appreciate them and their respect. And so he was mentioning that. Let's go to Rapinoe, the soccer player. And I liked what she did the kneel down during the one game. The next game, which was an away game, they were playing the Washington Spirit. I liked what the Washington Spirit did. What they did was they played the national anthem ahead of the players coming out, so that they could avoid the whole kneel down situation and avoid anybody disrespecting the flag or the national anthem. Ownership said, and by the way, the owner is a veteran. Bill Lynch is a veteran, the Spirit owner, and he flat out said, look, we're just going to move it up and not allow anyone. And he flat out said, we're not going to allow anyone to hijack the national anthem or disrespect the flag at all. So I liked what the ownership of the Spirit, that soccer team, did in advance of it. They just moved it up. And you know what? Maybe that's something that needs to be thought about.
Yeah, it's a good call.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, you know what? Because it's more for us, the fans, than it is the players.
Right.
I mean, the players, if they seem to just have an utter lack of respect for the flag, themselves, and the nation, well, you know what? Fine. We're going to take that away from you, and you're not going to be able to stand and salute the flag. And we're just going to play it while you guys are in the locker rooms, and then we're going to move on with the game. You're going to do exactly what you're there to do, which is come out and either sit on the bench or play in the game. And that's it. That's your job. That's what you get paid to do. And we don't want to hear anything else about it. We don't want to see you disrespecting the flag.
Well, just like you were talking about the sponsor leaving, Brandon Marshall, if you follow the money, I mean, if these players start losing endorsements, how long are they going to keep up the
nonsense?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it is nonsense. And, Kaepernick's a bench player anyway. I mean, I don't know.
And you'll notice, Mike, nobody's talking about his cause for sitting down.
Right.
Everyone's just talking about his lack of patriotism.
Exactly.
No one he did nothing to further his cause.
Exactly. And we would love to talk about that, because we've talked about that on the show, about those types of issues before. We'd love to talk about that. Those are the real issues at heart. But instead, there is this other issue. There's a lack of respect for the flag,
right.
Lack of respect for the nation, and
On today's anniversary,
good hardworking Americans don't like that.
No.
And that begs the next question: who is brave enough, or any other adjective therein,
right,
to sit down or kneel down today
yeah. on 9/11? They better not.
Yeah, that would not be a good choice.
Or Mike's coming at them.
But I'm gonna.
That's right. I'm gonna get you.
Bet somebody does though.
And Kaepernick lucked out because his game's tomorrow.
Oh, good.
He doesn't even have to make that statement.
Right.
Is he still playing?
Yeah, right? Has he been traded away? Hey, this was interesting. State Representative David Nangle, he's out of Massachusetts. Now, in 2013, he sent a letter to all the leagues, because he was ticked off about the lack of respect during the national anthem that other players showed, not paying attention. Some players would face the other way. And, look, this sort of general lack of respect is not new. It just so happens that somebody kind of tweeted it in advance, and then they did it, and they knelt down, and now we're talking about it. But this isn't something that's necessarily new, this disrespect for the flag or the national anthem. And he had sent a letter 3 years ago, 2013, and he sent another letter to Roger Goodell saying that, hey, he's like, the league found justification in suspending Tom Brady for 4 games for allegedly deflating some footballs. But you won't touch anything regarding disrespect during the national anthem. He said there should be a code of conduct, and I would agree with that. Not often a politician has something common sense to say, but that was fairly common sense. I liked what Team USA hockey coach said. John Tortorella, he told ESPN this past week, and quote, "If any of my players sit on the bench for the national anthem, they will sit there the rest of the game." I like that. Also, quote, he said, "I'm not backing off. I'll tell you right now. Try to understand me. I'm not criticizing anybody for stepping up, blah, blah, blah. But no chance I'm involved in this political stuff. But, you sit during the anthem, you sit the rest of the game." And that's what I want to hear from a coach. That's what I want to hear from an owner. Respect the flag. We wouldn't have seen this in Landry days. Tom Landry, or Jimmy Johnson. You were late for the plane, you might get cut. With Jimmy Johnson, and he's done that. Tom Landry, he would sit the star players. He sat Meredith.
Yep.
I mean, so he controlled the team. I liked that. Men need to be led, and there needs to be authority, and there needs to be discipline.
But it's a different time also. I mean, you had stacked teams. You had the person behind the starter that could come in and play just as well. You don't have that anymore. And today, you were giving more, back then, you were given more leeway. You had more time to win or lose and figure out where you were.
Yeah.
Today, you've got to win now. It doesn't matter.
That's true. There's not many coaches out there that could afford the luxury that Tex Schramm gave to Tom Landry. But he was the great Tom Landry. But if you look over his long career, a lot of losing seasons.
Especially in the beginning, he wouldn't have made that long career had he started today
in this day and age.
Exactly.
I absolutely agree. But the thing is, it's kind of a catch-22. If you don't give your coach the authority, then all it is just based on whatever talent you have, and maybe they buy into the offensive or defensive system, maybe they don't. But when the coach does not have the ability to discipline his players, and a lot of this is based on the contracts, because the guy may get paid either way, whether he's on the field or not. So benching him as discipline no longer works because he still gets paid, and that's the current player does not feel bad about, it used to be you bench a player, that hits you in your ego, that hits you where it hurts because you were playing because of the love of the game. You don't play for the love of the game anymore. No. You play for the almighty dollar. Most players nowadays do. So you're right, though, because, even you can't bench them because that wouldn't work because they wouldn't care. I'm getting paid anyway. I don't care. Right. I'll sit here on the bench and collect my paycheck.
What? So I'm going to end up retiring.
So how do they discipline these guys?
So I'm going to retire from the league with good knees and no head trauma. Fantastic. Hey, throw me on the bench.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to they're going to keep getting their paycheck. So I don't know, but I think it's a fundamental issue with the player of today's age, which is they don't care necessarily as much about the game, but also they don't care enough to stand for the flag and stand for themselves and their teammates and during the national anthem. It's ridiculous. It's horrible. I did see this out there. There's a Jeff Fisher video, and this was not recent. This was from some time back, but he had an entire segment during player training prior to the year, a clinic on. He's like, this is very important to me, and you can go out there and Google this Jeff Fisher video. And he says, look, this is very important to me. Here's what you will do during the national anthem. Now, this is Coach Jeff Fisher, NFL coach. Now, this was some years ago. This is not recent, and I'm guessing he probably still does this. But it's so important to him that during, two-a-days, during camp, etc., prior to the season, he's saying, this is how you will stand, and he shows video. He's like, you will stand at the white line, shoulder to shoulder. You'll have your helmet under one arm. This is how you will respect the flag. And he says, this is very important to me. He went into why it was important to him, but also why it's important to the nation and to show the nation that, we are a professional team in the NFL, and this is how we treat the flag. This is how we treat ourselves. This is how we act as a team. And that just goes to showing his coaching leadership. Right. I think all coaches should do that. Personally.
Well, and we all, in our own professions, we all have our own code of ethics, you know, especially in our profession. We have to take classes on our code of ethics. Mm-hmm. And I believe in any occupation that you have, there needs to be a code of ethics.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, we're going to take a short break. They're going to come on back. We're going to do a little home improvement talk. See you in a few.
Allen Economic Development Corporation is proud to sponsor the 9th edition of the Cumulus Putting Texans Back to Work Job Fair at the Allen Event Center on September 28th, presented in part by International Suit Warehouse. With over 2,500 highly qualified job seekers, 6 employer booths, and promotion from all 7 Cumulus radio stations, this is the hiring event of the fall. Employer booth spaces limited. Visit PuttingTexansBackToWork.com today for more information or to buy your booth. That's PuttingTexansBackToWork.com or call 972-708-4251 to learn more.
Do you think identity theft is only when someone adds charges to your credit card? It's actually when someone pretends to be you to open new accounts in your name or any number of bad things. LifeLock can help. We use proprietary technology to alert you to a huge range of identity threats. And if you have a problem, we have a team of U.S.-based specialists who will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. Membership starts at $9.99 a month, plus applicable taxes. Go to LifeLock.com and use promo code NEWS to get 10% off.
Far from the shores of home, 2 African-American U.S. Army privates fight for their lives on the battlefronts of World War II. The first Black War correspondents fight to cover the perspective of the black soldier. The novel A Private War weaves all this and more into an epic World War II era story of friendship, conflict, religion, and redemption. Get a copy of Private War, a novel by Perry Cockrell today, now available on Amazon.com. And tune in regularly to Inside Real Estate Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. to hear Perry Cockrell, attorney at law, as he provides expert analysis of the latest and greatest in legal news.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we're back Inside Real Estate here, Mike Kruizinga, and it's time for another home improvement and flooring segment with our good buddy Kevin Hamus over at Ideal Floors, the website idealfloors.com, idealfloors.com. And his direct line, 214-789-0422, 214-789-0422. Kevin, how's it going today?
It's going well.
Good.
Going really well. Staying really busy, but that's better than not having any work.
That's right. It's better than sitting there waiting for the phone to ring.
Yes, really.
Well, I know we were going to talk about, we need inventory out there. We really need folks that are on the fence, thinking about selling, been thinking about selling. We need their house. We need it on the market desperately. And, everybody's thinking, okay, well, what do they need to do to their house to get it ready to sell? And, if you haven't replaced your flooring, in 10, 15 years or more, even 5 years, depending on how hard you wear your flooring, if you have pets, et cetera, kids, flooring and paint, as we always talk about in real estate, are some of the huge things that people need to do. And flooring is your expertise. So let's talk about, the best way for them to do that and to get their house ready to sell.
Yeah, whether it's your house, that you're living in that you get ready to sell, or if you're an investor, decide that you have a rental you want to fix up and get ready to sell, or you rental or flip property you buy and sell. There's a lot of things that we're seeing out there that seem to be working real well. First thing to talk about is carpet. Carpet. What we found is that pretty much in a house that's under $200,000, $175,000 or less, we have a really good looking 25-ounce product. It's a frise, and when you put it in the house, it's not a very expensive product, but it looks really good down on the floor.
Right.
So we're doing that when it comes to carpet. The other thing, if we get up into upper end homes, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. We have a 35-ounce product that looks really, really well. That is the heaviest carpet that we really put in any property that in that price point, to sell. And the reason is because once this product's on the floor, it looks really good, and you don't have your buyers when they come in. They really generally don't get down on the floor, feel the carpet to see if it's a good carpet or not, good quality carpet. They just look at it.
Right.
And this carpet, when you put it down and look at it, it looks like a really good quality carpet, but yet it's only a 35-ounce carpet.
Right.
The other thing to think about when you're putting carpeting in is the color you put in. Generally, if you're going to sell the property, you want to go with a light color, because two things: light looks cleaner, it brightens the room up, it makes the room look larger, especially if you have small bedrooms. You put light color in, it'll make the bedroom look larger. So you always want to focus on doing lighter colors, in carpet if you're going to put carpet into your home.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, because unless you're planning to stay in the property and it's just your personal preference to go with a dark color and that's what you really prefer, and, if you're selling or you're talking about a rental or something like that, you got to go with the light colors, because when people, by and large, the majority of people that we walk into a house with, their color really skews how they feel about the house, and that's why everybody says, go with the lighter colors. But it just does make the rooms look larger,
Yes,
I mean, they may be a large room or they may not, but it's either way they will look larger with those lighter colors. So that's great advice.
And especially, it all depends what kind of lighting you have in the house. Do you have a lot of windows, a lot of lights?
Yeah.
That also have a factor on, the color carpet you want. Like if you have a bedroom that has just a 3x5 window, on the backside of the house, which doesn't get much light, you definitely want lighter carpet, because you're not getting, other than the light in the room, the light switch, you're really not getting much light in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want those floors light and the paint light, and in those rooms where, which brings up another great point is, if you don't have light in those rooms at all, then you may need to compensate by doing some additional lighting, when you're selling as well. So.
Right. And also when the other thing is that I think most realtors will probably tell you over and over again is the fact that generally a carpet allowance or a flooring allowance usually doesn't work.
Right.
If you're really trying to sell your home, you really need to put in a neutral flooring to update the house to make it look nice, because probably 95% of the buyers who walk into your home can't see through old carpet.
Right.
And to see what it's going to look like new. So if you have older flooring in there, chances are you're not going to get the sell price that you want, because people are going, well, I got to replace that. I don't really like this. And, so it's going to affect your sell price. So it's rare that we ever do a carpet allowance.
Yeah, you're honestly, it's 100% right, because buyers have a hard time seeing through it. And honestly, even in a higher end home, a lot of buyers are maybe cash poor to a degree. If they have to come in and spend $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in flooring, even if it's a higher end house and they got to spend $25,000 or $30,000 in flooring, that adds up. They would rather see it accomplished on the seller side, let the seller just raise the price, because they can handle that additional value in the sales price through their mortgage, because it's only going to be a small amount per month on the mortgage. But handling it all in once, a lot of people have difficulty with that, particularly with the very average house. Let's just say the average house is, $350 below, which pretty much is where we're at in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. That can be difficult for people to accomplish. So, really sellers should take advantage of, your program, which is, that get the flooring done and they can pay for it at closing.
Right. Yeah, we do have that. And that is one thing that's of a real benefit to the seller, so they don't have to come out of pocket.
Right.
To be able to put the flooring in. So the other thing is going up from carpet. Generally, when you get up in, especially in your upper end homes, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, you're going to want, and even 150 and up, you pretty much want a hard surface in the living areas. So, like 150 down, they're probably putting vinyl plank. Maybe 150 to 250, that might be laminate, or you get in over 200, it might be engineered wood. It's just because the buyers in those areas are expecting that product in their home.
Right.
Like just last week we put, it was probably $500,000-$600,000 house that the people just bought, and they were going to put in a gray floor, and they found a gray floor that they absolutely loved, but it was laminate. And they ended up buying it and putting the laminate in. But I told them, I said, if you ever sell your house, you're going to have to replace this, because people who pay $500,000-$600,000 for a home don't want laminate on their floor.
No, not at all.
So, so you got to keep that in mind, is if you're have a price point, if you're updating your house, what am I going to put in? You get up into 250 and up, you're probably going to have engineered wood floors, and even get up higher than that, you may have to go to solid 3/4 inch oak floors, that are hand scraped or finished on site. Right. Just because that's the price point people are expecting to have in there.
Right. And as much as it is a seller's market, and is probably going to continue to be that way for some time, the buyers do have expectations on every price point, as you pointed out. And so if your flooring doesn't match that, then there's going to be a disconnect in your sales point and where the buyers feel like they're getting the value for the house. You throw that flooring in there, and then you're okay.
Right. And then also what's happening in your upper end homes, when I say upper end, I'm talking 250 and up, is we're going in with a lot of porcelain plank. It's a porcelain that's generally, they're like 6 by 36, it's a wood looking porcelain tile. And that looks really, really, really sharp. So a lot of wet areas, kitchens, bathrooms, even a lot of living areas are going with this porcelain plank, because if you install it and you put it down with very small grout joints, it pretty much almost looks like wood after you put it down.
Right.
So you're getting the benefit of porcelain, because porcelain is real hard, but you're getting a wood look. So that's another consideration or thing that we're seeing.
Yeah. And there's so many new products coming out all the time. I would highly recommend, stopping by one of the showrooms. We've got 5 of them in the Metroplex. Go to idealfloors.com, see where they are, and stop by, and just, see if Kevin's there. Kevin's usually at the Duncanville store.
Yes, I am.
But any of the stores would take care of you. And, just take a look because there's new stuff coming out all the time.
Right. And the other thing that, Mike, you as a realtor know, it's kitchens and bathrooms.
Sure.
So some things you can do in the kitchen. You can, put in granite countertops. You might do a tumble travertine backsplash or, something back there. In the bathrooms, you really want to upgrade, to putting in new tile, 12 by 24s, larger tiles, 20 by 20s, in your showers, your tub surrounds, because, that's what's expected in the market.
Yes.
And then you may have to have some deco designs in the walls or, benches or shelves that are put into the wall that just, again, you want when the person walks in, they go, wow.
Right.
Because that's what sells the house.
Yeah, no, you're right. 100%. Kitchens, bathrooms, how many times we walk into them and, after we get done looking at that house, they end up talking about the kitchens and the bathrooms, were they updated or were they not? And the thing that, a lot of sellers, especially homeowners that have been in their home for quite a while, and maybe they haven't done a lot of home improvement, or the last time they did home improvement, it was, 5-10 years ago. And you think about some of these products, and you think about updating, and you're just going off of information from the last time around. You're missing out on all the new products because things have totally changed. Not to mention the price point of all these products has gone significantly south. So it's not going to be as expensive for them to update and upgrade as they think. So they really need to, go to the website, and also come into the showroom floors because things have totally changed and the price points aren't what they think they are. And so just spending a little bit of money for the program where they pay at closing, they don't even have to come out of pocket. It's a no-brainer because otherwise you're leaving money on the table when you close. Plus you're going to stay on the market longer without doing these updates.
Well, and actually, because of the price of oil coming down and it's basically the manufacturing technology is they are making carpet cheaper today than they probably, I can't even remember when. Mm-hmm. So you're getting a lot better value today for carpet than you did 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
So like you say, with the technology of manufacturing and the oil being down, it has, a huge impact on the price of flooring.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's totally different. And, those homeowners that have lived in their house for a long time, particularly, maybe the house is paid off at this point. You've got plenty of equity in the house. You're going to downsize. And honestly, so many clients that have been in the home that long, their first inclination is they just want to sell it and be done with it. They don't want to bring a lot of people in, do anything. But they can leave so much money on the table by not just paying attention a little bit, doing a few bit of updating, with that old style green carpet or the old style pink carpet, right, or just an old carpet in general. It may be in decent shape, but it's old. And the bathrooms and kitchen are old. They're leaving so much money on the table. If I could just preface to them that, look, just let us help you. It's not as bad as you think it is. Bringing some people in, getting some things updated, and you're going to make so much more money at the end. And, don't let the worry and the trouble of having contractors come out and all that sway you from leaving money on the table. Because a lot of folks have so much money tied up in their house, it's retirement money.
Oh, yeah.
They could be walking away with much more than they think if they would just, listen to us and let us help them.
Well, and also if they do decide to sell their house, as if they've lived in it 2 of the last 5 years, their profit's probably going to be tax-free.
Yeah. So
that's the other benefit of selling. But probably the last thing I want to talk about is the grays are coming back in. Mm-hmm. You have gray vinyl plank, you have gray hardwood floor, you have gray laminate, gray carpet, and we talked, where if you have a rental unit, you might go with a gray. But to me, if you're going to sell the house, I wouldn't risk a gray, mm-hmm, because you might have, maybe let's say there's 10% of buyers out there that are looking for a gray. Well, you still got 90% that are still looking for a neutral earth tone color.
Right.
So if you're going to upgrade your house or make some changes to sell your houses, stay neutral, stay with earth tones, because that's something that can go with everything.
Right.
And they still make really good looking quality earth tone products.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
That's the thing I would say is stay with earth tones.
Yeah, absolutely. And it depends on where you are. It depends on if maybe it's a flat, if it's a condo, where it's at, if it's in the city or more urban, suburban, that is. So, but absolutely, they are making a comeback for sure. All great advice, all great information, and that's courtesy of the owner of Ideal Floors, Kevin Hamus. You can reach him direct at 214-789-0422. That's his cell number, by the way. And, of course, the website, idealfloors.com, for all of your flooring needs. Another great segment, folks. Hey, it's Inside Real Estate. Come on back in a few.
Komen Dallas County is leading the Dallas fight against breast cancer by providing life-saving breast health services today and funding research to find cures of tomorrow. You can join the mission to save lives by registering for the Komen Dallas Race for the Cure on October 15th at North Park Center. Go to komen-dallas.org to sign up and learn more about the life-saving treatments that Komen Dallas offers in your area. That's komen-dallas.org.
You're listening to the sound of an actual heart beating outside of a human body. Thanks to modern technology, a doctor can now keep a donor heart beating until it's ready to be transplanted into its recipient. Yet if our doctor wanted to transfer a phone call from her desk phone to her cell, she couldn't, because her phone system can't do that. At Vonage, we think it's about time business communications caught up. See what Vonage can do for your business at Vonage.com/it'sabouttime.
With over 3.5 million square feet and 5 DFW locations, Ideal Floors has you covered for all your flooring needs. Whether you're looking for carpet, tile, laminate, wood, or vinyl plank, Ideal Floors has you covered. And with their price match guarantee and their 100% satisfaction guarantee, they are the absolute best in DFW for all your flooring needs. Call Kevin Hamus, the owner of Ideal Floors, at 214-789-0422 or go to idealfloors.com for all your flooring needs.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey, folks, we're back. Inside Real Estate. Mike Kruizinga here. Time for some mortgage talk. We got Terri Wagner here live in studio. Terri, how are we doing today?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You've been
Good to
out.
be seen.
You had a vacation there, so
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah.
We had a little time off. So, well, what's going on in the mortgage world today?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about credit. We talked about credit in a while.
Okay.
We've talked about specific loan programs, but in order to qualify for some of these programs that we have to analyze your credit. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and give the people some ideas of what they need to be working on, what they can be working on if they know they want to buy in the distant future, things to kind of be watching out for.
Okay, very good.
So credit scores range from 300. Never seen a 300 though. I'm just going to tell you, I've never seen a 300. But supposedly they range from 300 to 850. I have seen some pretty close to 850, which is awesome. I loved seeing those.
That is great.
But usually 700 in the 700s is a good credit score. So we can
And we're not laughing if you do have a 300 because guess what? We can rapidly get you from a 300
we can fix that
all the way up to where you need to be.
That's right. We can do loans down to 580 credit score, but it takes a little bit to get you from a 300 to a 580. So
it might
we
be
need
a
to
little
get
longer.
working on it now.
Yes, call right now.
Call right now.
ASAP.
Yes. Okay, so there are some that don't have any credit scores. If you don't have a credit score, we have to generate you a credit score. We can't do a loan without a credit score.
Need something.
So, but we can help you with that as well. If you don't have a credit score, give me a call. We will come up with ways to hopefully create a credit score for you. We've got some ideas and some things that we can help you with on that. So typically there are 3 credit scores: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Right. You don't have to have a score on all 3 of those. But if you have 3 scores, we're going to take the middle score as your qualifying score. So you have a 700, a 650, and a 600. 650 is your mid-qualifying score. They're typically not going to be that varying, but you can have one score that's really low and two that aren't. If you have a collection account, maybe that's just reporting on one credit bureau or something like that, it'll lower that one score. Yeah. So that's the good news. If it's just reporting to one, we use the middle of your 3 scores. If you have 2 scores, we use the lowest of those 2 scores. And then if you just have 1 credit score, that is your qualifying score. A lot of people, when they go to look at their credit report, and Mike, I absolutely recommend that everyone do this once a year, whether you're looking to buy a house or not. Go to freecreditreport.com, annualcreditreport.com. There's several of them out there. Mm-hmm. Don't pay for it. It's not necessary for you to pay to get a copy of your credit report.
Right.
Don't pay to get your score, because the scores are not going to be valid really anyway. The scores that you pay for are a joke. They're nowhere close to what we would pull if we were pulling your credit.
Exactly.
So, but absolutely check your credit once a year.
And that's a good point, not to just focus on the score, because we've gotten so trained, I think, maybe through media to a degree, to just focus on the score. But you're right. You need to pull the report, because you need to see actually what's on it line by line.
That's exactly correct. And if you're – I'm going to throw this plug in there too. If you're dealing with a mortgage loan officer that's not an experienced mortgage loan officer, that's all they're going to look at too is your credit score. Oh, yep, you got a 650. We're good. Let's go. Well, there may be something on your credit report that's going to hold you back even with a 650 credit score.
Right.
So make sure that you're dealing with someone that is going to take a look at your full report, not just the credit score.
Right.
So you pull your credit report, and there are some items on there that aren't yours that you don't want on there. Maybe they're yours, but you want to say they're not yours. So you dispute them. Okay? Disputes hurt you as well.
Seriously?
So, yes, they do. And I'll tell you why, Richard. Disputes take that account out of the scoring model. Well, an underwriter knows that account is not in the scoring model. And you have to prove that that's not really your account or remove the dispute. So we could have an artificial 650.
Okay.
Okay? And then we have to remove the dispute, and the credit score goes down, and then we can't do your loan.
Right.
But this is how other people used to increase your credit score to get you qualified for the loan.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
But the underwriters are wiser now than they were years ago. I used to tell my customers to do that, in all honesty. Yeah, just go dispute everything. And it artificially raise your credit score. But you can't do that anymore.
Doesn't work that way
Doesn't work that way anymore. So there are, depending on the number of disputes and the dollar amount. So again, give me a call. Let's talk about the specifics before you start disputing everything on your credit report if you're looking to purchase in the next few months.
Yeah, because people can seriously, I mean, there's some things with your credit that are counterintuitive. For example, closing an account. People are like, oh, I'm going to close an account. That's going to do good for me. No, it's not.
No.
You need to just call Terri, talk to her, and honestly, if you're not thinking about buying right now, but maybe in the future, just talk to Terri anyway.
It is a good idea, even if you're planning on buying in the next year or so, to give me a call. Let's look at credit right now. Let's pull credit right now and determine where we are. Yeah.
Things change all the time, and especially, if you haven't, if you've been in that house for 7-8 years and you're going to sell that one and move on, hey, guess what? Getting a loan now is totally different than it was back then.
Right. Exactly. So let's pay attention to disputes. If something is legitimately not yours, then let's get it disputed and get it off before we move forward.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I'll tell a customer, I'll pull their credit. We're ready to purchase in the next 30 days or so, and they have accounts on there that's not mine. I don't know whose that is. I've got a common name, and I'll tell them, we're good. Leave it alone. Don't dispute it. I can get your loan where it is, and then after you close, you can go fix that problem.
Right, deal with that later.
Right. So a credit report, when I pull a credit report for you, that credit report for the purpose of purchasing a home is good for 90 days. So if I pre-qualify you today and you don't find a home, which is entirely possible in this market, if you don't find a home in the 90 days, we potentially could have to pull your credit report again. So we need to pay attention to, while you're shopping for a home, not to be shopping for anything else.
Yes.
Don't go buy a car. Don't get a new credit card. Don't get a gas card. Don't do any of that.
Yeah, nothing.
Okay? Because part of our processing process is that we want to know on that credit report, it's going to give us everyone that's pulled your credit in the last 120 days. And we need to know, do you have any new debt from that doesn't necessarily show up?
Are you out there looking?
And here's another little key to this. On some loans, if we pull your credit and everything is good, we process your loan, right before the end, they could pull another credit report, what they call a soft pull, to see if you have new credit inquiries. If you have new credit inquiries and you went out and got a new car or a new credit card, we then have to include that new debt in your debt-to-income ratio, and that could hurt us a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
That could kill your deal.
Yeah, it could.
So factors to consider when we're looking at your credit report. This is what we're looking at. We're looking at the types and amounts of your outstanding credit. We're obviously looking at the credit history. How do you pay your debts? Are they paid on time? What is your available use of your credit? So in other words, if you have a credit card that has a $1,000 credit limit and you have it charged to $998, then you have no available credit, and that's going to lower your score.
Right.
So we're gonna watch that as well. We're gonna look at that, and we've talked about the new trended credit report, and maybe we'll touch on that next week again because that's coming effective this month.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to now be looking at how much do you pay of that debt every month?
Minimum dues.
Right. So that's going to they say right now it's not going to go into your underwriting of your file, but at some point it's going to.
Right.
It's going to play.
You can't unsee what you've seen.
Right.
You know, if it's going to be there, the underwriter has to take it into some type of consideration.
Right. So the last thing I want to talk about is your public records and collection accounts. Public records, most especially. If you have judgments, tax liens, any of that, and you know it's there, take care of it. Don't just leave it on there and hope it goes away. It's not going to go away. A judgment or tax lien has to be taken care of and dealt with before you can buy a house.
Right.
So if it's there, let's get a solution to it. Let's get it resolved. I have an issue that we're working with this week that there's a judgment on this person's credit that the company was sold, and the new company that bought won't accept her money, but they also won't release the judgment. So we're stuck because we have to have that judgment removed. So let's pay attention to those public the tax liens and judgments, and let's make sure we take care of those before we even start trying to look at a house.
Yeah, really. Yeah, you got to deal with that up front. Yeah, some of those things that are major, you got to deal with that stuff before you even get started.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We could talk about credit forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the key thing, folks, to think about is when you're thinking about purchasing a home, you want to start way out in advance anyway.
Yes. 6
months, a year. You may even want to call Terry, 18 months before you're thinking about it. And just kind of see what's going on in the market. Hey, here's my situation. Do you think there's anything in my situation that might cause a disruption, an issue in getting the loan right away when I want it, when all of a sudden I want it? Because a lot of times you say you may be 18 months out, but guess what? In 3 months, you might say, well, maybe I'm going to sell now.
Right.
And people do that. And so you might as well just check in advance with Terry, see what's going on, see if there's anything in your file at all, your husband's file, wife's file, whatever the case may be, that you guys need to take care of.
Right, and they can do an application right on my website. It's just TerriWagoner.com, and that's WAGGONER is the last name, TerriWagoner.com.
Yeah, you can apply right there, TerriWagoner.com, and of course you give out your cell phone direct.
I do. I sure do.
Fire that away right quick for them.
Yeah, 469-644-4818, and I will answer your call and be of any assistance to you that I can be.
That's right. Folks, always give Terri a call for all your mortgage, refinance, Texas cash out needs, home equity, anything you can think of in the mortgage world. She's got you covered. You want to work with the best, work with Terri Wagner over at Supreme Lending Rockwall. Hey, folks, we're going to take a short break and come on back. When it comes to your mortgage and refinance needs, trust Terry Wagner, our resident mortgage expert on Inside Real Estate Radio. With a wide range of financing options and competitive interest rates, you can trust Terry for a fast and reliable loan process with superior service. Go to terrywagner.com or 469-644-4818 today. Supreme Lending is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID number 207089, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas, 75032. SML Mortgage Banker Registration, Residential Mortgage Loan Originator. For the best and most competitive interest rates and most financing options, including jumbos, down payment assist, refinance, and many, many more, trust Terry Wagner, the mortgage expert on Inside Real Estate Radio. Call the Terry Wagner Supreme Lending Team today at 469-644-4818 or go to terrywagner.com. Supreme Lending is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID number 207089, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas, 75032. SML Mortgage Banker Registration, Residential Mortgage Loan Originator. The Richard Tonica Insurance Agency in Arlington has nearly unlimited resources when it comes to getting you the best insurance rates and policies for home, auto, and more. As part of the Goosehead Insurance brand, you, the consumer, have the power of choice through the Richard Tonica Insurance Agency Network. Richard can quote over 20 A-rated companies to find the best fit for you, the best policy at the best price. Call Richard today at 817-286-2002. It's the Richard Tonica Goosehead Insurance Agency, 817-286-2002.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey, folks, welcome back. Inside Real Estate website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. By the way, if you're actively looking for real estate, you can download my app, DFW Metroplex Real Estate. It's in your smartphone stores, either Apple or Droid. And then, of course, catch all of our episodes and past interviews at the website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. And got a few headlines to throw your way before we get into insurance talk. I got, maybe a minute and a half to throw these at you real quick. Here's a few things that are going on. You know that Ed Snowden movie is coming out here pretty soon, and he's going to do a live from satellite from Russia on September 14th, the conversation with Oliver Stone. So there's going to be an interesting screening with that. So and that movie's coming up. The Sully Sullenberger movie just came out this past weekend as well. I really want to see that. I have not gotten to it yet. But did you know the SpaceX rocket exploded at Cape Canaveral this past week? They were sending up a satellite for Facebook that was going to help with internet service in Africa. And the rocket exploded this past week on the launch pad. So that was they've lost a few, but you know it happens. You know, it's just part of the business, and they know that.
But the last couple, they had successful launches.
They've been doing really good.
Exactly.
They've because in fact they've sent up some supplies for the space station for NASA as well. So. This was interesting here. Remember John Hinckley Jr., the attempted assassinator of Reagan. He's being released. He's been in sort of mental health facility for some time, in prison, of course. And he's actually getting released. He got released yesterday, actually. Got released yesterday. He's going to be somewhat under house arrest, but he can drive. He got a driver's license in 2011. He's actually been going home to his mother's home for quite a while, which I wasn't aware of this. But he's being allowed to live with his mother, and he can drive up to 30 miles. He will be able to vote in Virginia. He can apply to vote. He's barred from talking to the media, though. But he is out, and they say he's not a threat to anyone. So John Hinckley Jr. is free as of yesterday.
So you can try and kill the president, but who killed John Lennon? He still is denied parole, correct?
And the woman who tried to kill President Ford is still locked up forever.
Yeah, so very, very interesting. I was very hard pressed to believe this. I was like, "What? What's going on?" And sure enough, it's true. So he was out. So the guy who tried to kill President Reagan. There you go. Hey, we're flying to Cuba now. For a long time we've been thinking the that would never happen since, the 50s. And so, hey, guess what? We're flying to Cuba now. JetBlue flew the inaugural flight on the 31st last week or so. And, of course, American started flying there this past week. I don't think yet we're flying direct out of DFW on American. I think right now we've got to connect through Miami. But I understand that hopefully both Southwest and American are going to be trying to fly direct here pretty soon. So, that'd be interesting. You want to head down to Havana, Richard?
Sure, if you're buying.
Well,
I'm willing to go anywhere.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the headlines for now. Let's get into some insurance talk. Let's talk about some earthquakes, and then hey, there was that recent thing that happened with the guy's cell phone, the new Samsung 7 Note, I believe it was, and his car just turned into a ball of flame. And so now, is that going to be covered? If somebody's cell phone blows up their car?
It's funny when we were talking about that during break. Normally, if you're at the control, it just goes towards collision. But with something like that, like we were talking about, you're going to look at something like other than collision, or what's commonly referred to as comprehensive. But that would be an interesting one. But yes, it would be covered as long as you have full coverage. Now, any covered item, and let's take that to earthquake insurance also. If you don't have the coverage, you're not going to be covered. Yeah. And it's it's that simple. But
so if you have a cut rate liability auto policy and your cell phone blows up your car, you are SOL.
If you have liability only, I don't understand it, but we all have our own budgets that we have to live in, and we all have different risk tolerances. And just because I don't feel comfortable having liability only doesn't mean that other people don't.
Sure.
Because I have a bunch of customers that have liability only, and I try talking them out of it, but
that's what they want to do.
Exactly.
Well, let's get into that earthquake. I know we wanted to talk about earthquake coverage because of the earthquake that happened in Pawnee, and we felt it. If it was felt in 6 states, all the way up into the Dakotas and down here, and I know in Irving there's been a lot of earthquakes as well. And so let's talk about earthquake coverage, because I guess now we maybe need to think about that as homeowners here.
Exactly. But before I get into that, I just wanted to shout out to my wife. Happy birthday, honey. I love you. Thank you for the beautiful life that we have together. Now, on to
Happy
work.
birthday, Carol.
Happy birthday to you.
We're going to let Mike sing.
No, don't. You don't want to hear me sing.
Well, I know my wife doesn't want to hear me sing.
Happy birthday to you.
I'm just going to throw some did you knows at you and see if you can kind of guess how many. Before 2008, how many recorded earthquakes did we have in the Metroplex?
Not many.
None.
1.
Oh.
Since 2008, have we had more than 50?
Yes.
More than 100?
No.
Yes.
More than 100.
More than 100 have been recorded in the Metroplex.
In less than 10 years.
In less than 10 years.
Well, and up in Oklahoma, over 900 in this past year. And they pretty much were the same way.
Yes.
And so Oklahoma's even far worse.
That's the reason that they've stopped the fracking up there, is because there has to be something to that, but that's a completely different conversation.
We could fill 3 hours with that.
And there's really no way to predict when an earthquake is going to occur. Yeah. They can say that things are right for it, but they can't tell you exactly when it's going to happen. An estimated major earthquake in populated area could cause as much as $200 million in losses. Unfortunately, around here, your homeowner's policy does not cover earthquake insurance, or it does not cover earthquake.
Right.
So, and with it not being a Texas law that you have to have it, it's your choice. And is this something that you need to look at? Yeah. Depending on where you are. I mean, I've felt it at my house, and me and my wife have had the conversations of, do we need to get this?
And we're going to be up against some time. Let's talk about the cost of earthquake coverage and what it would cover.
Well, there are different kinds of earthquake policies also. There are some earthquake policies that will cover you in the event of a total loss, and that's it. And usually your deductible is going to be anywhere from 2% up to 15%, and that's a total loss. So if your house is $200,000, you're going to take, I mean, if it's at 5,000, then you're going to take 10,000 off, and then you're going to get the 190 to replace everything. That being said, with this being a low risk area, and I'm throwing quotation marks up, it depends on where you are, whether you're really low risk or not, but they can range anywhere from $110 a year up to Lord only knows. It's going to vary from house to house, but we are not going to pay the rates like California or other areas that are more high risk areas, where ours is going to be a lot less and a lot more affordable to get. Now, we have some policies that will go down to the 2% and don't have to have full total loss for it to be covered. It'll cover any kind of property damage, any kind of personal damage that happens to your house that isn't a total loss. And so you're looking at that kind of a coverage will be easily maintained for pennies on the dollar per year.
Right. Well, I mean, if you live in the Irving area, for example, where a lot of earthquakes have occurred, if I was a homeowner over there, I would get earthquake coverage. The type of coverage I would want is something that would not be total catastrophic. Well, I would want that, but I would also want what is more likely, which is some damage to the home. You know, you could all of a sudden experience major cracks in the house, some structural. That's what I would want if I lived in Irving as a homeowner.
It'd be a no-brainer.
At this point, I would have to get it.
Yes.
You know, what just happened now?
And with some of our policies, it's going to be a simple endorsement that you can add on to your policy or within the same company. Others, you can do a standalone policy for your homeowner's insurance. It doesn't have to be with your, let's say you have Farmers or State Farm or someone else. Like Farmers I don't believe that they have, well, I don't know. Anyway, if you have a different policy, a different homeowner's policy, you don't have to have the same earthquake policy with the same company. You can get a standalone earthquake policy that is separate from them.
Right, same as you can with flood.
Exactly.
So are we talking about, I mean, maybe can we have, that $300 to $500 a year ballpark for an earthquake policy similar to, and we're going to have to wrap up, but similar to flood? I mean,
yes,
can we get
absolutely.
into that ballpark?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, folks, look, it is worth it. I mean, with the latest things that have been happening with earthquakes, you may want to think about it here in the DFW area, especially if you had some damage. Call Richard. RichardTAgency.com is the website, RichardTAgency.com, 817-286-2002. Call 2002. Call 2002. Call 2002. Call 2002. Call 2002. Call 2002.